Hi YouTube! Today we're going to discuss an app that we use on our phones that makes traveling a little bit easier. It's not 100%, but when is driving a 32-foot motorhome 100% perfect? So today we're going to talk about an app that I actually heard about from another YouTuber called Allstays. It costs about 10 bucks to buy, I believe, but it's actually pretty useful. So it has a map type feature, and it shows you while you're driving or while you're stationary. You can look up campsites or state parks or national parks, just places you could park the RV. It's also got this really cool feature that Michael and I love to use when we're planning a route. We can look at the route on this map and we can click different heights of bridges. So what I like to do is I like to click anything underneath 13 feet, let's say, just because I like leaving us a little bit of wiggle room underneath bridges. And it will show me where all of the 13 or lower foot bridges are, and we can try to avoid those. So far it's been pretty accurate. I don't think we've run into too many issues.
Some of the issues that we have run into, we're up in New York State. We were guided down a state highway that broke off from an interstate, and Lily thought that everything was fine. She saw some bridges, but she thought that the highway went over and she was looking at underpasses. But just right before the exit, and we couldn't do anything, we saw a sign warning that there were 8-foot bridges ahead. Thankfully, we were able to take the first exit and turn around and reroute ourselves. But just know that if you get off an interstate, just really be aware of any low bridges. One useful trick would be to look at Street View on Google Maps at the bridges if you are concerned about anything along your route. Also, knowing how tall your motorhome or fifth wheel is, so that you can say if you can confidently clear a 13-foot bridge, 12-foot bridge. For example, we measured our motorhome, and when we're traveling, we are about 11.5 feet. So anything 12 feet and over is fine, but having that extra foot clearance of searching for 13-foot bridges adds that extra peace of mind.
Another thing I was going to add is that after this little adventure that we had with 8-foot bridges, we discovered that if you click on the icon that says how high the bridge is on this app, it will actually tell you which direction and what road you're on, where that bridge is. So if I had clicked on it before our journey, I would have found out that the way we were going was the 8-foot bridges. So just look at that a little bit closer when you're trying to figure that out. But this app also has like RV businesses and like Dick's and sporting goods type stores, so that way you can possibly get stuff. And I know that some people like to boondock at these places. It's also got rest areas, so that way you can know when your rest area is coming up. I know we've used that a couple of times because we've needed to use the restroom while we were on the road, and we were curious how much longer it would be. It also shows you Walmarts, and it also has some reviews from other RVers or whether or not it allows boondocking. So if that's something that you're interested in, this app might be able to help you as you journey along. Another big thing for us while we're traveling is gas stations. So this app actually is pretty useful. It has most all gas stations listed on here, and then they usually have whether or not an RV is welcome or if there's room for an RV. But what I like to do is I like to pull up our destination on Google Maps, and then I like to pull up the route on this app, and I like to just see how far we can go with a tank of gas before we need a new tank of gas, and what gas station around there looks good. So what I'll do is I'll find one on here that matches up with Google Maps, and then I'll drop down that little person for Street View, and you can actually get a pretty good idea whether or not you're going to fit, because just because some of these gas stations are supposed to welcome RVs does not mean that they're very welcoming to an RV. As we've discovered, sometimes they can be a bit crowded. Like, I know that we like to use Good Sam's cards, which go to Flying J and Pilot. Well, just because you get a discount there doesn't mean that you're going to fit there. So it's a very good idea to check it out on Street View before you actually show up with your with our car. We're about 53 feet long, so it's good to check this. If you're diesel, you might not have to worry about it because you could potentially use the truck lanes, which are just diesel. But for anybody who's gas, you will need to use either an RV pump, which are very rare and far between, or you will have to use gas pumps that are meant for cars. So again, I just recommend looking and making sure before you go, because we've actually gone to our gas stations that we've been like, well, we can't fit, so we had to turn around and leave and find a different gas station because we wouldn't fit even though they said we would. So.
And the challenge that we have is that when we're trailering the car, it's on our car dolly, which the way that the braking system works is that we cannot back it up without putting a little key into the trailer, and that's just such a pain that we specifically look for places that I can pull into the pump and be able to exit easily. So that's the situation that we're in. You might be in a different situation. You might just be trailering a small pull behind, or you might be in a large fifth wheel, but that's the challenge that we have. But this app, Allstays, definitely allows us to be able to preview the gas stations at least a little bit before we head out for the day.
We've also had some RVs, either they're pull behinds or Class A's, really big ones. We've had them actually follow us before the way that we take out of gas stations, because they were trying to figure out how to get out of the gas station as well. But because we previewed this, we figured the best way to get out and into the gas station. So I don't think everybody does that, and it can save you a lot of hassle, especially if you have a lot of little cars zipping in and out of the gas pumps. So definitely something to look into. But it's definitely worth the money, and I highly recommend it.
Yep, and just big disclaimer here, we're not being sponsored by Allstays. We just love the app. We use the app every time that we travel, and if you'd like to check it out, we'll have a link in the description below.